So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pottscast. I'm Darren Potts. I'm your host, as always. But today, guys, I'm joined by one of the best fighters on the planet. It is the welterweight king of the PFL. It is the one and only Ray Cooper III. Delighted to have him on the show. Been wanting to do this for quite a while. Ray, thank you so much for agreeing to come on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on.
Delighted to have you here. As we were saying just before we clicked record, I was talking to your cousin, Kai Kamaka, Kai Boy. He recommended I reach out and ask you, and delighted to get you on the show. Wanted to talk to you. I thought it'd be a really good chance just to talk over some of the stuff about your journey in MMA. Last week, you went into your first fight in this year's PFL welterweight division against Jason Poney. Didn't last very long. Takedown, submission, finished it, and on to the next one. I did get a question from Team Hawaii Promotions. They sent me a message when I said I had you on the show, and they wanted to know, how did the fight play out compared to what you expected? Is that what you expected? In, out, quick work?
Yeah, no, I didn't expect him to shoot on me. He's more of a stand-up fighter. From what my dad was telling me, he's more of a pressure guy. He comes forward and he likes to strike, but put the pressure on him right off the bat. And I guess he didn't want any part of the stand-up. So that was really, it surprised me a lot when he shot at me because, yeah, he was a stand-up fighter. And in this kind of season format, if the finish is there, you have to take it because you have to get the points to even line yourself up to even get a chance to win the championship. So let alone and get into the playoffs. So yeah, it was just he left his arm out, and I just capitalized on it.
Yeah, you seen it, you took it, you ended it, you finished it very quickly, you got the points, and it's on to the next one for you. Really excited to see what happens next this year. I mean, last time out, 2019 tournament, incredible performance for you. You mentioned your dad, what your dad and what your father told you in the build up to this fight is he's very much a striker. And what I want to touch on is a bit about family, because you're a fighter, and you're a lot of time you're spent in camp, and then you're away from home and you're fighting. How important is family to you, and how important is knowing that they have your back as a fighter?
Oh, it's very important, and I think it's a big plus for me because me and my family, we do everything together, and yeah, it's a blessing to have my family because my dad, unlike other trainers and managers, sometimes they don't look out for what's the best thing for you, and I'm so glad to have my dad as my trainer and my manager to just be open with each other about certain things, and with business wise when it comes down to contracts and other things. And yeah, it's a big part of my life and my training to have just my family a part of it only.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can see that, whenever I was watching some of your highlights and some of your clips and doing a bit of research, your brothers are all fighters as well. They've all won state titles. You've won state championships as well as a wrestler. It obviously is a massive role, and the close-knitness, the togetherness, if I can use that word, of your family, I think it's a beautiful thing. And I tried to learn this word, and I hope I say it correctly. Is it Ohana? Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah, Ohana.
I'm pretty good that I got that nailed on. I'm happy with that. Also, family member, Kai Kamaka. Well, tell me a little bit about your cousin Kai. I know he's a huge supporter of you guys. You guys are quite close. He had a big fight this weekend in the UFC. I think he was the winner. I think the judges got it wrong. What was your point of view on that, and how do you see his career going so far now he's transitioned to Vegas and in the UFC?
Yeah, me and my cousin is very close. He grew up fighting earlier than me. I was only wrestling, but him and his brother used to train when they was younger. Like he been fighting since he was like 7 or 8 years old, been doing kickboxing matches and submission grappling. So he was fighting a lot longer than me, but I was just wrestling most of the time. And yeah, me and him is very close, and with his fight that came up, it went the other way, but all in all, I told him you can't leave the fight in the judges' hands, and because not many of the judges they ain't fighters. I don't they're just random people that don't even know the aspect of fighting or scoring. I think, in my opinion, and yeah, it's just that's what happens when you leave it in the judges, and that's why I try my best. At my fights that I ain't going to the judges. Period. So I can have all the say in my hands, not in somebody else's hands. So, but he knows what to do. He's got to get up and get back right on it and fight again and finish fights instead of letting random people judge your fights. But I'm happy for him. His dream came true. He got to the UFC, like how we always talked about. We always talked about getting to the UFC. That was our big dream and our goal from when we was wrestling and watching my dad and my uncle them fight in the Blaisdell down here back when it was Super Brawl days in the 90s. And yeah, for him to make it to the UFC and get a chance to train full time, and it's a very I'm proud of him for what he has accomplished, and it's not over. It's just the beginning. He's still young, and I've been fighting longer than him in pro, so I kind of took a longer road getting to where I'm at today, and for him to get where he is now, it's it's awesome because he has a long career ahead of him.
Long and successful career is what I see. He is a warrior. We've seen that in pretty much all of his fights. He goes in there, he leaves nothing. He leaves nothing in the cage. But I agree with you. When you leave it in the hands of judges, you run a very risky. It's just risky, isn't it? You know what I mean? And you're right that some of these guys are just kind of coming in. They don't train. They don't know the sport, and they're making a call. And it's probably unfair, but that is the risk that you take when you let it go that far. And through your own experience, it doesn't really get that far for you. You are a finisher. You're usually tapping guys out, and if they are brave enough to stand with you, they crumble. We've seen that in 2019 when you won the belt. You had a big body shot and he just folded like a deck of cards. Is that something you've always had? Have you always had that power and that strength and that belief in yourself just to go and get it done?
At the time, when I was fighting, my main concern was just wrestling. Wrestling was wrestling in my life, and it is still my life. And I kind of just strayed away from it a little bit, just because of when you're younger and then you knock it on guys, and it's just like, oh, I can just knock out everybody. But sometimes it's that's not the case, because I got knocked out in the previous season, and yeah, it's just you gotta just be more mature, and I think I've grown from that um invincible I'm invincible mentality. But I still think I'm the best, and I still think I'm invincible, but at a more tactical thinking of it, not so much just going out there and if you hit me, I hit you, and we see who's left standing. And you got to be more tactical about it, and yeah, it's just got to fight smarter, and yeah.
Yeah. And growing up, we've talked about wrestling. As a young kid and a young person growing up, was wrestling always your life? And when did it become? I know after you turned down the college scholarship and you went full time into fighting, but when was that in your mind? When did you decide that you wanted to be a full time professional fighter?
I wanted to fight from when I was 8 years old, watching my dad fight. But my dad wasn't really keen on me fighting. He didn't want me to fight. He wanted me to pursue my goals in wrestling. I wanted to go to college. I wanted to wrestle in the NCAAs and become a national champion, and then move on to wrestle in the Olympics. That was my goal from the beginning. But then I didn't really like school, going to school and doing doing schoolwork. I think it was just it wasn't my thing, and I felt like I was wasting my time, and yeah, fighting just came, and then I just wanted to just fight already, and just put my wrestling dreams on hold. I'm still not done wrestling. One day I'm going to wrestle for the Olympics, and I want to win a gold medal later on in life. But right now it's just, yeah, just focusing on my fighting career, and fighting was a part of my from when I was a young kid.
mean, a gold medal at the Olympics, it would go really well with that big gold belt from last year. I think that would be a really cool little place, to put that up maybe in the living room or a room in the house, the gold belt, the gold medal, and fingers crossed. I'm excited to see if that's the way it goes, but I think that would be really cool looking. And obviously wish you all the best in that. Another big component of your life is faith. I know you are a believer. Talk to me about your faith. How important is that to you in your life? We've talked a little bit about the fighting. We'll switch back onto that in a second, but faith is obviously a big part in your life as well.
Yeah, from when I was young, my mom, they were believers, and they just instilled it into me about Christ and how He died for our sins, and I just feel that He's been helping me throughout this whole thing, because we go through battles in our head, and just spiritually and mentally, feel like I can lean on Jesus, and it was just instilled for me when I was younger. I didn't realize it at the time when I was a kid, but growing up, there's things that you deal with, and for me, being a believer, I know everybody doesn't believe in Jesus Christ, but I believe that He is real, and He helps me every day to just stay focused, and not only in fighting, just being one good person, and being one good father to my kids, just like how he's the father of all of us, and him, my dad, teaching me about Him, and just being one good father figure for my kids, and all the other kids down here in Hawaii that don't know and don't have the opportunities that many of these mainland kids have, and we can just gotta learn how to believe in ourselves, and I just want to spread the word about Jesus Christ, and that yeah.
I think it's brilliant when someone's able to share their faith, and hopefully when people listen to this podcast, when people listen to the words that you've said, they'll hear a bit about your journey, they'll hear about your goals and aspirations in the future, but they'll also hear the words that you've shared about Jesus and the faith as well. I think that's really, really key, and I'm really, really happy to give you the platform to share, and hopefully we could reach some people whenever I share this podcast. To switch it back to a little bit about yourself and growing up in the MMA world and wrestling and whatnot. Your brothers, tell me a little bit about growing up with your brothers and everybody being involved in wrestling. You must have had some fun growing up with your brothers and everyone wanting to wrestle and wrestling and being very good and successful.
Yeah, I'm the oldest, so they're quite younger than me.
Okay.
So I was wrestling when I was younger, and they're like about, my youngest brother is about 8 or 9 years younger than me. So they was babies when I was wrestling in high school. My third youngest brother was he's about 3 to 4 years younger than me. So he was the one that I was training when I was in high school. I just had to instill it in them that it's a tough road wrestling. You need to be mentally and physically strong, just with the training and the grueling grind of wrestling. Wrestling is not an easy sport. It's one of the toughest sports in the world. And at the time, I wanted to go to Iowa, and the way Iowa Hawkeyes, the way they wrestle, it's a very physically demanding, put pressure on you and break people's wills, and that's the way I wrestled in high school, and that's the way I instilled it in them to wrestle. But not all of them got it, because they're still young and they still didn't know. I was older than them. They didn't know the grind of wrestling, and just having to be so disciplined with the drilling and the mindset of it. And but once they got older, then they understand. My two brothers went to college and wrestled in Oregon, Pacific, or is it Oregon, Warner Pacific in Oregon, and one of Blake, my third youngest brother, he won a national title in AIA as a freshman. So when he went up to college, he understand why I pushed him so hard, and to train like that, because in the mainland, the Hawaii guys don't know what it's like to wrestle mainland people, because the mainland people, they have no remorse for other other wrestlers down here, they don't have that because it's so wrestling down here is kind of watered down and real not as physical as the mainland guys. And I don't know why that is because that's why plenty of Hawaii guys get licking when they go up and wrestle mainland people. So yeah, I pushed him that hard because I wanted him to be successful. And my two brothers, one of my other youngest brother was a regional champion, but Blake was a national champion. And yeah, it was just training them in those ways.
The family of champions, really. When we look at your family, you know, everybody's won something in the end, and obviously yours, that big gold belt. You've won state titles as well. I want to talk a little bit about the PFL now, if that's okay. You won the title in 2019. How big of a moment was that for you? Not because PFL, for maybe guys that only watch the UFC, PFL, you go through different fights. You fought twice in the same night in the quarterfinals and the semifinals, and then you went on to win the title. It's a different system than just one fight every so often. And I think it's incredible what the fighters do at PFL. I like the system. I like how it's laid out. So tell me a little bit from your perspective about winning the title and being champion. That was obviously a major goal for you.
Yeah, it was a quite accomplishment that I did. I did it fought two times in a night, and I did it once in the 2018, and I did it a second time in 2019, and it's just like wrestling the season, and that's why I was so attracted to the style of the league and how we fight every 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
6 to 8 weeks. Right now it's 6 weeks because the season is so short. But yeah, it's just you have to be tough, mentally tough to fight again because plenty of the guys don't fight this often.
Yeah.
I had freaking was that 5 fights in 6 months. So it's like no one's doing that. Which especially I had 10 fights in 2 years, and most of the planning guys don't even get that fights in like 5 years, and it's like I did that in 6 months. So I just love the season. It's very it just tests a person's will, whose will is stronger, how mentally tough you are. You get injuries, you're gonna have to just shake it off and keep going, or you can just quit and get out of the tournament. So um yeah, it's just I love this style, and I'm built for it. You gotta get fast finishes, and that's the way I fight. And yeah, I just love the way PFL is, and I hope to keep going.
I'm hoping to see you more and more. You know, I think this year you're obviously looking to retain that title, and I fancy you to retain that title. I think you will retain that title. I'm sure you believe you have that mental strength. You talked about mentality. Um, what does it take to be a fighter? You've talked about mentality and having that strong mindset. If you could sum up in a couple of maybe key words or a couple of key phrases, in your opinion, what does it take to be a fighter?
I think the most important thing is discipline. Just having the discipline to train every day, because not many people want to do this. It's not an easy thing to do. Doing the same things over and over again. Well, my lifestyle, that I train old school, so we run miles. I get in there, I do my drilling and lift weights, and then pretty much I just do that over and over and over and over again. It's boring, but that's just what it takes. It's it made me a champion from when I was young, and it's still making me a champion. So not many people is disciplined enough to train every day. It's not that hard to get a job, and everybody can get a job and go work a 9 to 5 job, and not everybody can go in there and win world titles and win $1 million. You know what I mean? So it's like just the discipline of it. If you're gonna be a fighter, you gotta be all in, and yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. You know, seeing guys work out every single day, pushing their body to the limit, and then going in and fighting, I think it's the craziest thing in the world, but I think it's brilliant. And I think that you have to be such a unique person to do that. And
Yeah.
I think that's a credit to the fighters, you know, to be able to do that. Like you've said yourself, running miles, old school style, hard work, and hard work for you has paid off. One of my favorite things about PFL is when you won that title, Mike Tyson gave you the belt. I'm a huge Mike Tyson fan. I thought that was really cool. Did you ever in your wildest dreams think you'd be I think you probably did believe you'd win a world title, but I don't know if you thought that Mike Tyson would be the one giving you the belt.
Yeah, it was an awesome thing. I watched Mike from when I was young, and um, many of my fights, I usually watch him before my fights. And growing up, when I was wrestling, I would watch his fights before my wrestling matches. It's just the tenacity he had, and the way he just came at people and with a ferociousness, and it was awesome. And to have him put the belt around me, it was crazy because I watched this guy from when I was freaking a kid, and he's giving me a belt, and it was just at the time I didn't realize it. I was like, whatever, but when it sunk in later, it was like, bro, Mike Tyson just gonna give me my belt. That's crazy. Right, I was still fuming off of the fight, so I wasn't really taking it in. And then after I was sitting down, I was like, man, he just gave me my belt. Mike Tyson, the world champ, the heavyweight world champion. What the heck? So it was an awesome feeling, and that was one of the highlights of my life.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm looking at the pictures and I'm just like, that's so cool. I can just imagine what it was like for you actually being in there. And I'm sure he appreciated a few of the knockouts that you've had in your career over the career so far, because when you hit people, they fold. And I'm sure you enjoy doing that as a fan of Mike Tyson and whatnot. Was it always the idea for you to go to the PFL, or what was your route into the PFL? Was it the way it's set up for you in terms of the system, or what was your decision, or why to go to PFL?
Well, at the time, I was broke. I was working in a regular job. I was a wrestling coach at a gym, and I wasn't making that much. And I was fighting locally. I would fight in California too, and I wasn't really fighting. And then when I saw it on social media about the $1 million tournament that the WSOF at the time, the World Series of Fighting. There wasn't that. There was the PFL. It was coming out with a PFL and a $1 million tournament. I was like, what the heck? I wanna get in this. And I was messaging all kind of different promotions, the UFC, ONE FC, Bellator. None of them was getting back to me, and I just messaged Ray Seffel and sent him my highlight, and he freaking called me back. And even that was more. I think that was more of a highlight and an honor that Ray Seffel messaged me, because Ray Seffel is a legend in kickboxing, and I actually would watch Ray Seffel more because he's Polynesian than Mike Tyson. So having Ray Seffel's number in my phone is one of the best feelings ever, because he's a freaking banger that freaking from one Polynesian man, just for him to make it. He's a 9-time world champion or something like that. He's awesome, and that's pretty much what attracted me to the PFL, Ray Seffel, and the $1 million.
And the $1 million was something you got, you know what I mean? We went through the tournament in 2018, you got to the final, didn't work out for you, but you came back 2019 and it worked out for you, and nobody was stopping you in 2019. You got the belt, you got the $1 million check, you're back to do it again this year. Has anything changed for you since 2019 to now, maybe in training, or is it still exactly the same old school hard work and getting ready to fight?
Yeah, nothing changed, man. I do the same thing, same routine. Just the basics, and basics is what wins fights, and that's all I do. I just hardcore training. That's it. Just running miles, drilling for a long time, live wrestling, and lifting weights. That's pretty much my go-to training, and yeah, nothing's gonna change. I'm gonna keep doing the same thing. I'm gonna keep taking guys out, and I'm gonna keep defending my title every year that I'm with the PFL.
Yeah, that solid foundation has done wonders for you, and you're reaping the benefits now. And that dedication and that discipline was the word you used earlier, of every day working and improving and staying in shape. Is it hard sometimes after an injury and you've a fight coming up quickly, or is that all encompassed with the mental toughness needed?
Yeah, you're gonna have injuries. You just gotta figure out a way around it. Figure out how to train around it, and I did that all my whole career. So injuries is just a part of it, and you gotta learn to train with it, and that's it. Because if you get hurt in the fight, I mean, if you get hurt in a fight the first time, right when you get in the fight, you get hurt, or you're just gonna be like, oh, I'm hurt, I can't do it, or you're gonna fight through it, and that's pretty much that's what training is for. You train through it and you train around it, and same thing like in the fight. If it happens in the fight, you're gonna have to figure out a way around your injury, and you got to keep fighting. And that's just my whole mentality about injuries and all that stuff. And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I see you every time you fight. It's incredible to watch, and I enjoy watching you fight. You talked about your style. You look for finishes, which is entertaining. And I think that's really cool as well, that people watch you because they love watching you fight. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's really cool as a fan to go, yes, this guy's fighting, or Ray Cooper's fighting. I can't wait. Let's get it. You know, you're excited to watch someone fight. And I think that's really, really cool as well from a fan point of view. One fighter that you are, I'm assuming you're wanting to fight very, very soon, Magna Makarov, I believe is how that name is pronounced. I know that's the fight you want. What's your thoughts for that fight going in there?
I'm gonna do what I want to him. I'm gonna press him, and I'm gonna take him down. I'm gonna control him everywhere. I was winning the fight until I left my neck out. I just made one critical mistake, and he attacked it, and I'm not really worried about him. I know how to beat him, and I was beating him until I made that mistake. And he's not anything special. He's just a wrestler from Russia, like all the other wrestlers from Russia. And I think my wrestling is way more dominant than him, and I'm gonna show it. If he's even in the tournament, I didn't see him fight yet. He didn't fight, and but I cannot just do on one person. There's other people. You gotta train for everybody, and right now, my focus is on my next opponent, whoever it is. Rory McDonald, if he's next, I'm gonna smoke him too. Once I get that, and it's just I'm ready for anybody.
Absolutely. I think I have to be careful what I say because I live in Canada, so the Canadians here might beat me up if I say too much stuff about Rory McDonald. But being I'm actually from Ireland originally, and being from an island, you know, I like to see my own fighters do well. And you mentioned earlier about the Polynesian fighters. Is there any other fighters that you like to watch, like to see do well, keep an eye out on?
I really don't watch most of I really don't even pay attention to all of the fights. But when they fight, I watch them. I help them all. I wish them all well. I wish them that everybody wins from the islands. But I really don't really watch. Probably only one is Max. Max is probably and my cousin. And pretty much that's it. But mostly all the fight. I watch all Hawaii fighters. I wish them all the best. And for just the whole Hawaii, that all Hawaii guys is fighting in big organization. It's a big step for Hawaii fighters, because at the time, Planet Hawaii guys wasn't getting a chance. Only was BJ at the time, and BJ is my number one. He's my number one guy that I really look up to, and he's pretty much the plan. Most of the reason too that I started fighting, just watching him fight at whatever weight class, lightweight, freaking, he went all the way up to heavyweight. He fight anybody, and that's the mentality about Hawaii. We fight anybody, anytime, anywhere, and so.
Yeah, I agree. BJ Penn, an absolute legend. And as a kid, I was a young kid watching him fight, and it was incredible to see him fight an absolute warrior. And that's the thing about the Hawaiians too. You have that, and I know people say it, maybe they just say it and don't think about it, but there is that fighting Hawaiian spirit where guys are warriors. And I've seen that with your cousin. I've seen that with yourself, Dan Ige, another one. There's so many, Max Holloway, of course. There's so many Hawaiian fighters, and it's great to see them all do well. And it's about time. You know, you talked about BJ Penn being maybe the only one that had an opportunity a while back, but now there's so many Hawaiian fighters, and they're all making names for themselves, and they're all showing people, hey, you missed out on this. Could have been stuff that could happen for 20 years. Really now giving us an opportunity, and you're going out there. You're killing people, you're knocking people out. It's incredible to see, and long may it continue.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's been awesome.
Absolutely. Well, I have a couple of last questions for you, then we'll wrap this up. Don't want to keep you too long. I know you have a wife and a lot of kids waiting for your attention instead of me stealing it from my podcast. First question I'm going to ask you, it was one that Kai sent me. He said, if you could fight anybody in today's current MMA landscape, who would you pick?
I probably want to fight the champion of the UFC, Kamaru Usman. I think I pretty much have the recipe to beat him. I'm a wrestler and I'm a striker, so yeah, I think I would beat him, and I'll be the champion of 2 different organizations.
That'd be amazing. I would imagine if they done title versus title, that would be awesome. Imagine if they done it in Hawaii. I think that would be great. Based in Vancouver, it's a pretty shortish kind of flight for me. Be one I would try and get it. I would try and get a ticket to that one. That would be amazing if that fight happened. Yeah. So we'll maybe try and get that little clip, make it go viral, and see if Dana White gives you a phone call and offers you a nice paycheck. I think that would be a lot of fun. Another one for you. Your favorite cheat meal. If you have a cheat meal, is there anything you go to?
I really don't have a cheat meal. I cheat on my meals every day. I really don't diet. I don't do any of that. I train hard and I eat whatever I want, and it's worked out for me because I don't know. I just don't believe that. I just eat, just feed your body, because when you want to just deprive your body so much of things. And I mean, I eat healthy, but I eat what I want when I want, and it's not a problem for me.
Doesn't look a problem. It doesn't show like a problem. When you go in there and fight, it's perfect. So whatever you're doing, just keep doing it and enjoy your food and keep working hard, because it's working incredibly well for you. Favorite way to relax? Do you have any hobbies apart from when you're working hard? Maybe when you're, obviously the kids and the family is a big one for you, but is there anything you like to do to switch off and relax?
Oh yeah, I trail ride dirt bike. That's pretty much my go-to thing, just to get away, get in the mountains, and just be by myself and just relax and just take your mind off of fighting, because you gotta get out of it sometimes and just clear your mind. And sometimes if you're so invested in it, it can really take a bad toll sometimes if you're thinking about it too much and just trying to overload your mind. And sometimes you just gotta relax, do something different, and it's another really physically demanding sport too. Indoor riding and hard indoor riding. It's more in the European circuit of guys that do that. Not many people know about that sport, that the hard trail ride, you climbing mountains with a little 270-pound bike that you got to muscle around. So yeah, I really enjoy that. That's one of my go-to things that I do.
It sounds like you just enjoy putting your body through pain and seeing how quickly you can recover. It's like fighting and biking. It's like, oh, my body can take it. What shall we do tomorrow? And then you go and do something else. I don't know. I think it's crazy, and it's a lot of fun. Tell me a little bit about the wife. Tell me a little bit about the missus. I know she's a wrestling background as well. How important is she for you in terms of, obviously in your life, you're married to her, you love her and all that sort of stuff, but how important is she to you in your fighting career and that support system to you?
Well, she's the most important thing to me. We grew up in high school. We grew up wrestling. She was a wrestler too. She was state champion, and yeah, it was from wrestling pretty much. I saw her wrestle. I was like, she's gonna be my wife. When we was young, I was a sophomore and she was a junior, I think. And yeah, I just saw her for the first time, and she's gonna be my wife. And from then on, we've been together, and yeah, she's my rock. She takes care of my kids. She gave me kids, and she's always there for me, and I'm always there for her. She just been through plenty of stuff with me, and we've been through plenty of stuff together, and yeah, she's the most important thing in my life.
Absolutely brilliant to hear. And obviously, when my wife listens to this, we're expecting our first child, so I'm really nervous.
Oh,
and all
congratulations!
That.
Awesome.
Like, I'm so nervous about it, but it's going to be exciting. But it's a beautiful experience, and obviously for you and the kids. And all.
Be prepared for no sleep.
No sleep, probably no podcasts, no more interviews, no anything. But Incredible experience. Obviously, the 5 kids there for you, both of you guys coming from the wrestling background and whatnot and all that. Your kids are probably all going to be world champions given the background, the genes and the genetics that are all good on in there, which is class as well. But just some closing thoughts for you. Your next fight's coming up soon. I'm sure you're excited to get back in. What's your goals, aspirations? You said you would like to fight Kamaru Usman at some stage, unify the titles. That would be really cool. Whenever you finish, maybe if I word it this way, whenever you retire from the sport, what would you like your legacy to be?
Well, it's a good question. Never thought of it. Just that I was very disciplined and a God-fearing man, and just for the kids back home, for just know that nothing is impossible, and all you have to do is believe in God and do the right things, and things are gonna happen, and you make it happen, and you just go out there and put yourself out there, and not listen to people that tell you negative things. Plenty of people tell you cannot do something, or you're not worth it, or it's not possible, or you're too small, or whatever the case is that people tell you is all this negative speaking is just it's just people that just gave up on their life and they didn't know, like, people succeed, and just don't listen to nobody and listen to yourself, and just that's what my legacy. That's what I want people to remember me for.
Well, I think you're firmly on your way to doing that. You know what I mean? Like, if you retired tomorrow, you would have had an amazing career, and I think it's only going to get better for you, which is amazing to hear. You said, like, nothing is impossible. Put yourself out there. You've done that. You send off your tape. You're in the corporate. You're in the company. You're world champion. Incredible story, incredible journey, and that was all about the confidence, the self-belief, your faith, everything all encompassed into one amazing story. And I know the story isn't over. This is still, you're still writing your story. This is just a chapter in your story, and there's plenty more wins, plenty more titles, plenty more stuff to happen in your career. And obviously I'm delighted to have you on the show. So thank you so much for giving me 30 minutes of your time tonight just to chat a little bit about your story, because I think it's amazing, and I'm going to be really, really excited to share it and get the words out there. So thank you, Ray, so much for coming on the podcast. Yeah,
for sure, Darren. Thank you for having me, and congratulations on the kid, and I can't wait for you to have your firstborn, man.
It's going to be scary. It's going to be scary. Thank you so much, sir.
Good. All right, man.